The Vikings are often remembered as some of the most ruthless raiders in history, fearless warriors who terrorized Europe. Yet, despite their fierce reputation, they were deeply afraid of the darkness. When someone died, families often refused to carry the body out through the front door. Instead, they would break a hole through the wall, push the corpse outside, and seal the opening shut. They feared that if the dead left through the door, they would remember the way back and return. Something lurking in the darkness frightened them more than any enemy army ever could. Life in Scandinavia helped create those fears. At the top of the world, winter didn't simply bring shorter days, it nearly erased the sun. In some regions, the long winter months felt like an endless night. Temperatures could plunge below -30 degrees Celsius, cold enough to kill an unprotected person before morning. Entire families spent months crowded inside dark, smoky houses while the darkness stretched endlessly outside. In such conditions, it was easy to believe that unseen forces waited beyond the firelight. To explain the darkness, Vikings told stories. One of their most famous myths described two giant wolves chasing the sun across the sky. They believed that one day, the wolves would finally catch it, devour it, and plunge the world into eternal darkness. Every winter, as daylight slowly disappeared, it seemed as though the wolves were drawing closer to victory. The darkness was also believed to belong to trolls, massive creatures strong enough to crush a man. According to Viking legends, trolls could only survive at night. The first rays of sunrise would turn them into stone, which is why many strange rock formations across Scandinavia were said to be trolls caught by daylight. As darkness fell, sensible people stayed indoors and waited for the sun's return. Yet some dangers were believed to enter the home itself. One of the most feared was the Mara, a supernatural being said to creep into houses at night and sit on a leper's chest, stealing their breath and filling their minds with terrifying dreams. Victims would wake unable to move or scream, gasping in panic. Modern historians believe these stories likely originated from sleep paralysis. In fact, the English word nightmare traces its roots to this ancient Viking belief. Even more terrifying than the Mara were the Drauga, undead corpses that rose from their graves and walked among the living. Unlike modern ghosts, Draugr were physical bodies, swollen, decaying, and incredibly powerful. Legends claimed they could crush horses, spread disease, poison the land around them, and even kill birds flying overhead. During the dark winter nights, they were said to break into homes and drag people away. To destroy a Draugr permanently, Vikings believed its grave had to be opened, its head removed, and the body burned to ashes. One of the most famous Draugr stories tells of Glamour, the dead shepherd who haunted a farmhouse by climbing onto its roof at night and shaking the entire building. Eventually, the legendary warrior Grettir fought and defeated him. However, as Glamour died, moonlight illuminated his terrifying eyes, and he cursed Grettir to fear the darkness forever. According to the saga, the curse worked, and the hero spent the rest of his life unable to bear being alone in the dark. Not everyone feared the night. Some actively sought it out. Viking seeresses, women believed to possess supernatural powers, practiced a ritual called utiseta, or sitting out. Alone in the freezing darkness, they would sit atop burial mounds, attempting to communicate with the dead and receive visions of the future. The practice became so widespread that later laws specifically banned it, describing it as sitting out to wake the trolls. Yet the same darkness that inspired fear also shaped Viking culture. During long winter nights, families and warriors gathered around fires to tell stories, drink ale, and compete in verbal contests known as flyting. These contests resembled modern rap battles, with participants exchanging clever insults and accusations in verse. Reputation was everything in Viking society, and a sharp tongue could be nearly as valuable as a sharp sword.
The highlight of the winter season was Yule, a massive festival held during the darkest part of the year. For days, communities feasted, drank, sacrificed animals to the gods, and celebrated despite food being scarce. During these gatherings, warriors would place their hands on a sacred boar and publicly swear oaths to accomplish great deeds, win battles, or take revenge. Once spoken, Those promises could not be withdrawn. Many of the famous Viking raids that later terrified Europe began as vows made around a fire during the depths of winter. However, those raids would never have happened without something most people overlook: sails. While Viking longships are remembered for their wooden hulls and dragon-headed prows, the true key to their success were their enormous woolen sails. Producing a single sail required the wool of over 1,000 sheep. The wool had to be cleaned, combed, spun into thread, and woven by hand. Historians estimate that creating the cloth for a single warship required roughly 30 times more labor than building the ship itself. The slowest part was spinning the wool, a task overwhelmingly performed by women. In total, the labor needed for one sail represented the equivalent of around 50 years of work by a single person. Only large groups of women working together could complete such a project. Throughout the long, dark winters, they spun thread beside the fire, making possible the ships that would carry Viking warriors across oceans. Without their work, there would have been no Viking Age, only ambitious men stranded on shore. When the legends, monsters, and longships are stripped away, the Vikings appear surprisingly familiar. They were ordinary people gathered around a fire, sharing stories to make sense of a frightening world. They feared the dark, worried about the unknown, and searched for meaning in long winter nights. The same darkness that terrified them also forged the culture, resilience, and imagination that transformed a handful of northern farmers into some of the most feared people on Earth.